2024 tabletop role-playing game Ask Me Anything with your favorite pathological liar, the OGGM, who apparently has lost his mind. Silly humans, I lost that long ago. We're revisiting this chestnut from our good friend Jeannie D. And I have had some very horrible things to say about Miss D in the past, and I've had some very nice things about Miss D in the past. She definitely knows what she's doing. Love her or hate her, you cannot deny that Jeannie D has marketed Jeannie D exceptionally well. And God love her for that. I don't always agree with her. In fact, most of the time I don't agree with her, but I can't deny that she has made herself a media juggernaut. So this thing's been floating around for a while. It's the Jeannie D D&D Tag, which she did with Mark Humes and some other people way back in the Stone Age. And it resurfaces every now and then. So let's take it again to see if my answers have changed. I'll post a link down below if you ever want to take this. It's still out there. Okay. What was your first D&D character? Human fighter with a spear named Sam, which is pretty much my default character still. Human, male, cleric, spear. Human, male, fighter, spear. My last character was human, male, sorcerer, spear. What is your least favorite class to play or you don't really want to play? I love all the basic classes. Fighter, magic user, thief, cleric. I love them. I love Race's class. I just think it needs to be done a little better than it was in the old days. Some of the additional classes, Ranger, Druid, Paladin, love Paladins. Sorcerer, Warlock. There's none I don't like. I think I've played everyone at least once. If there's a class I have a problem with, it's maybe Barbarian. First, because Barbarian isn't a class. You don't go to Barbarian school, neither is Paladin, but still, Barbarian seems less, it's a background, and that background gives you bonuses and minuses, but you're still something else. Conan's background was Barbarian, Savage, Outlander. But, if you looked at his character record sheet, he'd be like fighter, thief with or whatever. There's no Barbarian class. And not all of them rage, I don't know why being angry became such a thing for barbarians. And then, trying to make them more and more rage-centric and then more and more ridiculous. And I think we reached the pinnacle of ridiculousness when they introduced Rage Swim, which I think was Pathfinder. And that was just at the point where you're like, really? Your ability is to get angry and swim better? How does that help you fight the giants that are attacking my village? I don't know, but man, look at that boy swim. Yeah, I think that's the point where they went, okay, maybe we're done. And then 5e tried to refresh them, but then quickly became ridiculous. Oh, this one has spell casting powers. And yeah, so it's probably my least favorite. But the one or two times I played a barbarian, I really enjoyed it. What D&D spell would you most want to have in real life? Telekinesis? Mending? Invisible Servant? I don't know, man. I mean, telekinesis covers a lot of stuff, but, mending or Invisible Servant is also really good. What's your favorite D&D monster? Slime. Slime, right? I mean, people are going to say dragons, but slime. What's your favorite NPC villain that you've encountered created? Ooh, Lady Janeth and her betrayal during Matt Broman's running of the Legacy of Fire campaign. That one still stings. The Harpy sisters that killed my character Ajax when I first met TJ Storm. That's another one. Favorite NPC that's shown up in my games? Young Keg, who loves to dance and is, who's 22 and still loves to dance. Probably an all-time favorite. Favorite NPC villain that I've seen in products? Well, Vecna. It's got to be Vecna. Has one of your characters ever died? Constantly. And what killed them? Which one? So many deaths. Usually my own fault. Usually taking on more than I can chew. Or just being stupid, like repeatedly setting off the trap because I was dumb. I don't know. I mean, there's so many. I got to think. Actually, in neither of the games that I was in recently have my character died. The Call of the Netherdeep character game, I never died. I don't even think I went down to 0. I went down to like 1 or 2, but I ran my character pretty smart. And then the other 5e game, which is on hold for the holidays that I was in with my weird Minotaur assassin, he's never died. Hell, half the time he doesn't even get into combat because he refuses to admit he's an assassin. It's like I'm still running him like he's a fisherman. It's like it says thief assassin on the character sheet because they're pre-generated characters, but a Minotaur assassin just is like ridiculous. How do you sneak up on somebody? Boom, clunk, 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 clunk. But yeah, he hasn't died yet, so I don't think I've died in a while. What's your best natural 20 story? My best natural 20 story was all the times that a natural 20 has allowed me to change the course of a game. Most recently, and this wasn't that long, this was a while back, Tristan Marks was running a Pokemon game. And my character, I didn't really get into it. I kept not really being able to fit into the Pokemon mindset at the time, but eventually I caught on to it. And there was one thing that Tristan kept reinforcing to try and get me on with the Pokemon mindset about the relationship between the Pokemon and the trainers. So we get to the very end, we get to the final fight with Mewtwo, and Mewtwo's about to, do his grandstanding monologue and lay down the psionic smack. And I walk up and I give him a hug, telling him, it's okay. I understand. I get Pokemon now. And Tristan's like, oh, you're so fucking dead. Make a roll. Natural 20. And I literally changed the outcome because Tristan had scripted one outcome, but just by saying my little speech and rolling that natural 20 and giving Mewtwo a hug, I totally changed the outcome. So that's probably my most recent. What's your best natural 1 story? Personally, there's a lot of oops. It's not my story. It's Shadow and Sun's story, but we were in a game with a guy and Shadow rolled a natural 1 and broke his sword because the DM decided to introduce critical and fumble tables, which, don't really work. And they just bogged the game down. And, so it was a pretty nonsensical critical and fumble table too. NPCs were killing themselves all the time from stupid things from the fumbles. So Shadow rolled a natural 1, somehow broke his bastard sword, which apparently is extremely difficult to do in real life because of the way bastard swords are made. And Shadow just lost it. That it was just made no freaking sense that, what he did and how he did it. And the natural 1 could break his sword. He was like, I'll drop it. I'll take a negative to it and I needed to get prepared, but there's no fucking way it got broke, dude. You can't, it's really unbelievable. So yeah. And everybody else was laughing. And every now and then I bring it up just to rub salt in Shadow's wounds. So that's probably my best one. What's the highest level you've ever played a character to, starting from first, I assume? Oof. Nonstop? I think by the time we ended Matt Broman's Legacy of Fire campaign, I was 14th level with Zeke. When we ended the Call of the Netherdeep, I think I was 11th or 12th level. I remember having like a 20th level character, but I don't think I earned it. I think it was back in the days of just goofiness, take a level. What's your favorite magic item? I like utility magic items. A +1 sword is great, but I like magic items that let me resolve lots of problems or that are totally ridiculous. So like the Rod of Lordly Might, Rope of Climbing, Decanter of Endless Water, Merlin's Spoon. So I never, that said, I love the alchemy jug, and I love the fact that one of the things listed on the things that the alchemy jug can create is mayonnaise. And you just read the list, and everything on the list makes sense. Water, holy water, salt water, acid, blah, 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 and then mayonnaise. And you're like, okay, why mayonnaise? And I'm not, it's on there. It's, go look up Alchemy Jug in the DM's guide. Mayonnaise. One of the things that the Alchemy Jug can make is mayonnaise. And I'm sure there's a reason why. I don't know what mayonnaise has to do with the ancient art of alchemy or modern day chemistry. I mean, mayonnaise is sort of a chemical marvel, I guess. But why would you make a magic item whose ability is to create nonstop mayonnaise? So that's probably one of my favorite. If you had an IRL alignment, what would you be? According to every alignment test I've taken, I'm neutral evil. If you had to date one of your characters, which one would you pick? None of them, because they're not real, and most of them are men. So I don't think there's any of my characters I'd want to go out with. If there was a character you want to play, but you haven't had a chance to play yet. Oof. No, I think I mean, it depends. On the next game I get invited to ask, if I get handed a pre-generated character, I'll play the heck out of that pre-generated character. If we make up our own characters, well, it depends on the system. I like, the last make your own D&D character I made was Mal, my sorcerer barbarian, and that character was completely random. I mean, just ridiculously random. Random in the way 5e shouldn't be random. But I was curious. So I rolled all the stats randomly, 3d6 down the line, even though the DM was telling me I didn't have to. I rolled race randomly, got human. Rolled class randomly, got sorcerer. Rolled background randomly, got outlander. And instantly the character was formed. Barbarian shaman of, Crom, Macau from the Conan movie. Ancient, just... These are the days of the sons of... that guy. That was who I was playing. And it was totally random. Are you a dice goblin or a dice minimalist? Definitely a dice minimalist. What rule or mechanic have you never quite wrapped your brain around? Why daggers do a D4? Knives kill people. I mean, at least once a week, you read about multiple stabbings where people are just dying from getting stabbed once. That's not a D4. When we were doing the initial playtest for 5e, yes, I was a part of the initial playtest of 5e, D&D Next, nobody got advantage or disadvantage. And we were doing critical roll wrong. We were doing critical damage wrong. So like for the first 2 weeks, we were totally doing advantage, disadvantage wrong until they sent the next packet. And we were like, oh. And then for like the first year of playing 5, we were doing critical wrong. We were doing criticals wrong. And then finally, we actually read criticals and we all realized, like a table of 4 or 5 people realized we'd been consistently doing it wrong. And every 5e game we'd played or run at together for a year. And at that point in time, we were so used to doing it the wrong way. We were like, oh, we're just going to keep doing it this way. And it stuck. So, yeah. And then, we didn't, for like the first 2 weeks, nobody got when you were supposed to roll advantage or disadvantage. So we were just always rolling with advantage. And then we would go back and go, oh, no, wait, I don't know if do I get to roll advantage now? Is this it? I don't understand. Also, guys, the D&D Next playtest is so much better than what 5e became. It's kind of sad. Not that I don't love original 5e before it got weird. 2014 5e was just as close to perfect as a Wizards of the Coast D&D could get before they went insane. But if you look at D&D Next and read it, it was just like, oh my God, this is perfect. This is like the best of old school original D&D and all the new stuff that you learned from your mistakes from 4E. Wow, Wizards, this is great. Fuck that, we're not going to do that. Oh, okay. Whatever. Yeah. Now, I will defend the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition engine to the end, even if it costs me friends and followers and whatever. The engine for what it is perfect. And I will say this countless times. If you let 5e work the way it's supposed to, it works. You know, when we played through the Call of the Netherdeep and we played 5e the way it was written, it works. It worked for the world of Critical Role. 5e is not Gygaxian level-based D20 fantasy. It's not Dungeons and Dragons, and that's okay. It works for what it is. Unfortunately, too many people, including Wizards of the Coast, keep trying to make it something it's not, and that's when it hits the wall. So, you know, in regards to rules I don't understand or didn't understand or never quite wrapped my head around, daggers doing 1d4 still doesn't make sense. Initiative doesn't really make sense. THAC0 used to not make sense. When I was a kid, I hated THAC0, but now as an adult, and I realized, oh my God, it was just basic math. Now I'm like, but then you got to remember I was dyslexic. So back then, numbers and I were not friends. But now, even though numbers and I are still not friends, I look at THAC0 and I go, oh, it's just basic subtraction. Why didn't I understand this? So yeah. But yeah. I forgot what I was saying. Probably something nice about 5e. So there you go. Has any of my adventure answers changed since last year? I think a few of them have. I definitely didn't have the Shadow and Sun Natural 1 story. Are there any questions for me you'd like to ask before the year ends? Anything you've ever wondered about the OGGM? Why do I call myself the OGGM? Why do I call it Site B? I don't know. Let me know. Until next time, have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday. See ya.